What up? Man, what a mess. Yo, yo, yo. Testing, testing. Let me know how the audio is. I think there's only one person in here. Riley, what's going on? How you doing tonight? Good to see you in here, Riley. Sorry about the lack of preparation, the lack of being around recently. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to try and stream this on my computer so that I can see kind of what's going on, and hopefully we're not tripping out. Hopefully internet is all right tonight. Doing pretty well, Riley. How are you? Good to see you in here. Appreciate you hanging out. Want to check in and talk about baits tonight. So it's been a while since I've been on doing a live stream. Feel like it's been a good 2 weeks or so, and even still my schedule has not been very regular. So leave a comment, let me know how well you can hear me, how the video quality seems right now. It's lagging on my computer by about 5 or 10 seconds, but no big deal. I can't hear the audio because I've got it muted, so let me know if you can hear me okay. I think it's just you, maybe one other person in here right now. Got a few thumbs up, appreciate you guys. Ron Holly in the building, what's up, man? I've got some more baits to show you guys. I just posted my unboxing video from Discount Tackle a couple of days ago, and I'll be honest, I couldn't help but get back on and grab a couple more things while they were still in stock. So wanted to talk to you guys about the 13 Fishing Jabberjaw specifically. Alan Aho, what's up, man? Glad you can hear me. So as you can see, I've got a package of a few baits in here. I've got a total mess in the bait room right now. So hopefully I can navigate around this stuff just fine. Show you guys a few up close differences between the 6 Sense Axis and the 13 Fishing Jabberjaw, since I've got them now in the same box, and I've got a couple more colors of the Jabberjaw in this package that I want to show you guys. So let's get right into it. Ordinarily I'd wait a couple more minutes to let some people get in here, but I can't contain myself and I want to see what it is that we've got. I can't quite remember. I think I've got a couple Lucky Crafts baits in addition to a few more of the Jabberjaws. So me too, Riley. I'm sure our reasoning for not fishing much as of late has been a little bit different, but I feel you. You know, I've really only been able to get out and do fishing here in the neighborhood for goldfish primarily. I got out fishing once recently to try and fish for panfish and bass and struck out, unfortunately. Was not out for very long. So, you know, it was a unfortunate situation. I was only out for about an hour and only saw a couple of fish. Did not get any bites. So, as you guys know, since I had my seizure 2.5 months ago, I haven't been able to drive. So I'm counting down the days. I've got about 2 to 3 more weeks before I can get back behind the wheel of a car. Haven't had any issues the last couple of months. In fact, I'm doing better than ever physically and mentally right now. And yeah, feeling optimistic, but unfortunately, I've really only had the opportunity to go trout fishing, fly fishing a couple of times, and fish locally for those goldfish here in our neighborhood, which is not all that exciting because literally I'm using the trout magnet like 95% of the time to fish for these goldfish, which is not very fun in terms of a challenge, but it is what it is. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you what we got here in the package. We got 5 people in here watching right now, hanging out. Looks like we got Russ Dennis in here too, man. What is up? He's over and needed to sleep in today. Reloaded some ammo and went to the range. So it was a good day. Good to hear, man. Ron says, watching a lot of fishing videos. I hear you, man. All right, guys. Like I said, I've got a couple of Lucky Craft baits in this package. First up is the Lucky Craft LC 2.5. Now, this is just one of my go-to square bill crankbaits that I throw. I throw the 1.5 size a little bit more than the 2.5, but I throw the 2.5 in this TO craw color, which I really like, and I also throw it in their BE gill color. Hopefully I'm not breaking anything, which is this guy. And I thought it would be cool to scoop up one in arguably one of my favorite Lucky Craft colors, and that's the American Shad. So the LC 1.5 and 2.5 are awesome value baits. Very high quality lure, very nice paint jobs, similar size and action as, like, you know, a KBD 1.5. These run just a little bit more shallow than the KBDs. And I tend to just like Lucky Craft baits a little bit more than Strike King in terms of a confidence standpoint and the stock hardware that comes on them. I will say that the hardware, the hooks that come on the KBD 1.5s have changed and gotten better over the last year or two, which I've been pretty happy with, just because now I don't feel like it's quite as necessary to change the hooks straight out of the package, whereas before that was like a must. So anyway, I just goofed up my square bill box. I don't really have room to throw this 2.5 in alongside the other ones that I've got in there. But like I said, now I've got 3 different color patterns of the 2.5, though I also said I tend to throw the 1.5 a little bit more frequently. Depends on the time of year, but right now, as the bait fish is really small, I will usually opt for the 1.5 size. But here in a couple weeks, as the fish really start feeding up and the temperatures in the water get down into the low 50s and the bass become more aggressive, then I will probably opt for a slightly larger profile like this 2.5. And the 2.5 in American Shad is going to be tough to beat. Absolutely killer pattern, great profile bait, and for $7, it's really tough to beat. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, it retails at $7.99 for the American Shad color. The standard colors I think are $6.99. So after the 10% off, it's $7.19. So scooped one of those up. Ron Holly's still locked down, man. Sorry to hear that. That's brutal. Yeah, decent hooks. I will say they're not the sharpest, but they're nice and big. So I think these are size 2 hooks that come on the 2.5 and maybe size 4 hooks that come on the 1.5. So I really like, I would say like, not love, the hooks that come on the LC 1.5 and 2.5. And like I said, don't feel the need to change them out right away. So of course you can, and oftentimes I still will. I'll opt to throw like a, I'll do what I do on a lot of my KBD 1.5s, and I'll change that front hook to a Mustad triple grip in the same size, you know, size 4 on the 1.5s, size 2 on the 2.5s, and then I'll leave that round bend on the back hook, especially as a year-round type of deal. But when the water gets colder, I will often opt for more of a round bend on the front and the back. So sometimes I just don't even change out the stock hooks at all on the Lucky Crafts. And like I said, more and more with the new hooks that Strike King is putting on theirs, I haven't been switching those out either. So, okay, next up is the Lucky Craft LV500. Everybody knows the LV500 is a high-end and very high-quality lipless crankbait. However, there is a misconception about this bait, and that is that it is a bottom fishing bait exclusively. So this is a larger and heavier profile lipless crank, straight up. It is louder and it's bigger. It's not super long, it's 3 inches, but it does weigh 3/4 of an ounce. So this is no joke in terms of weight. One of the heavier lipless crankbaits that I throw, I tend to throw that 1/2 ounce size the most often, some in the 5/8, but I'm creating a separate box for my JDM lipless crankbaits just because my lipless crank box is getting crazy crowded right now, and I'm starting to develop a lot of hook rash on the baits just due to fiddling around with them. So as you can see, I've emptied this top section, which was jam-packed with the LV500s and the Dual Realis Apex Vibes. So what I'm doing is switching over to these smaller Flambeau, I forget what size this is, 3003, that I talked about in my last live stream. And what I'm doing is switching to give each of these baits their own individual spot. So I'll show you. I've got 2 of the Dual Realis Apex Vibe lipless cranks, and these are oversized, absolutely giant, 4-inch, over an ounce lipless crankbaits. So very, very large. And then over here, I've got the new, not new to the market, but new to me, that I showed in my unboxing last week. And this is the Jackal TN70 lipless crankbait. So tungsten lip and heaviest in the group of the Jackal TN series, but it weighs 5/8 of an ounce. So just a little bit heavier and louder than most of the 1/2 ounce lipless crankbaits that I throw. But like I said, the LV500 is just a little bit bigger than it. So here is a side-by-side of the Ghost Minnow colors in each bait. So on top here is the Jackal TN70, and on bottom is the Lucky Craft LV500. Both of these are $15 lipless crankbaits. So not cheap by any means. As you can see, the Jackal has more of a yellow look to it, but both of them are very transparent. You can see the innards of the bait. Both make very good shad imitators, especially in clear water when you've got high sun. So like I said, the Jackal is 5/8 and the LV500 from Lucky Craft is 3/4. So where most people would say that the LV500 is for fishing on bottom, for yo-yoing off bottom, you can rip and burn the LV500 a lot more easily than people would think. It will run you know, somewhere in the 2 to 5 feet range on a burn retrieve, but you can keep it up higher in the water column than a lot of people would say. Most people would say that it's going to stay at a depth of, you know, 8 to 10 feet, and that is not necessarily true. If you can bomb the LV500 out there because of its weight and just the profile, it'll cast a mile. But once it's out there, once it hits the water, just immediately start retrieving as fast as you possibly can, and that thing will not get down very deep. And it's not very exhausting because it doesn't produce a lot of pull. So it's a loud bait, but you can burn it easier than most people would think. So I didn't have any of the ghost minnow color in my box, but that makes 4 LV500s, 2 of the TN70, and 2 of the Apex Vibe. I forget what size. It's their largest size, but it's like 4 1/4 inches, something like that. So decided to get 1 more of the LV500s, and then the real reason that I made this purchase was to pick up another handful of colors. Yeah, just 4 of them of the Jabberjaw. So as I explained in my unboxing video, I had a notify me button, notify me deal set up through Discount Tackle, and got that email right before placing my month, or my order for the month, just a few weeks ago. And they had just 2 colors in stock at the time, that Gizzard Shad and I forget what they call it, this bluegill color. What do they call it? Dream Gill. So green Gizzard Shad and Dream Gill were the 2 that I showed on my unboxing video that I posted earlier this week. Both are gorgeous color patterns. The green Gizzard Shad is a lot like the Strike King color that is green Gizzard Shad. Very transparent, and has a green hue and a little bit of a purple hue to it, depending on the light conditions. This Dream Gill, on the other hand, is really cool. Very high quality color. You're going to see me post a picture of this on Instagram tomorrow. But this has a dark green back, chartreuse tail, perfectly realistic bluegill pattern to the side of it, and then has a white belly with some orange on the throat. So actually really like this Dream Gill color. Pretty natural for a bluegill. But I threw those 2 into my order for the month at Discount Tackle, and then literally like the next day got a notification about this color, the Goldilocks, coming back in stock. So link and went and checked out the Jabberjaws, only to find out that they had like a bunch of other colors in stock, and they might still have a couple of these in stock if you go check out the website later tonight. Although you should use my affiliate link if you're going to do so. If you're going to make any purchases from Discount Tackle, I would highly appreciate it if you would use my affiliate link, since I do get a little bit of a kickback. But more important than the kickback to me is just Discount Tackle knowing that I'm helping drive traffic to their website, because that is a big indicator of the relationship between them and I, and something that they're tracking on a month-to-month basis. So the more that you guys are visiting the website through my link, and the more that you guys are purchasing through my link, the better. And anyway, here is the Goldilocks color. Check this out. Absolutely gorgeous. This is just a gold black back and orange belly. The Jabberjaw is 60 millimeters long. I believe it weighs 9/16. I was gonna say a ½ ounce, but 9/16, and it's 2 3/8 inches, so not quite 2.5 inches. And it does have size 4 EWG style hooks on them. Not sure who makes these hooks, but they are dang sharp. So this is a floating bait, dives 2 to 4 feet, but what makes it particularly unique is this free swinging metal lip on it. This is a square bill crankbait with no rattles in it, but the free swinging lip in conjunction with some metal cheeks on the bait, listen to what it does. Yeah, it chatters. So this is a totally new concept, a bait that does not exist on the market already, and I absolutely love that. Let me catch up on these comments real quick before we get into the comparisons between the Axis and the Jabberjaw real quick. Ron says, Tyler, do you have any lures that you have not caught fish with? Yeah, Ron, sure. Of course I do. You know, we could go through a bunch. You know, I've probably got some lures in every category that I haven't caught fish on, but for the most part, I try to diversify my my arsenal and try new variations of different baits. But of course, I've caught fish on square bill crankbaits and you know, flat-sided crankbaits and uh, deep diving square bill crankbaits and all sorts of variations of square bills. But this free swinging bill on a square bill is one that I have not caught a fish on yet, Ron. And you know, here on my desk, I've got a couple variations of the chatterbait that came out earlier this year. First is the Stealth Blade Jackhammer that I showed you guys just a couple weeks ago. Haven't caught any fish on this yet, but like I told you, I've only been out bass fishing once in the last 2 months, so I haven't even given that bait a chance yet. And same goes for this guy, the Teckle Blade Waker, which is half chatterbait, half wake bait. Haven't caught any fish on it. There's a ton of baits that I haven't caught fish on, Ron, but when we're talking categories, I've pretty much caught fish on everything here, from drop shots, shaky heads, swim baits, creature baits, cross, jigs, swim baits, crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, square bills, wake baits, frogs, topwater walking baits, Ned rigs, flukes, kind of everything, dude. So, you know, you'd have to be more specific if you're going to ask that. Russ, I appreciate you saying, of course, you'd use the link. But you never know. I know that Justin had accidentally made a purchase on Discount Tackle just in the last couple of weeks and forgot to use my... He didn't accidentally make a purchase, but he did make a purchase and accidentally forgot to use my link. So, you know, it just is what it is. Not everybody's going to associate me with Discount Tackle or vice versa. If you're going to shop online, you might just go search discounttackle.com. And if you haven't clicked through to the website from my link in the last few weeks or so, the cookies might time out and I might not get credit for that. So just something to consider. So I got 3 more colors of this bait that were in stock, and they all look pretty sick. So this one is called Fire and Ice. Keep in mind, all of these baits are the same size, same weight, same everything, because there's only one size of it at this point. Who knows if that will change in the future. Both the Axis and the Jabberjaw are labeled to suggest that if the bait does well, that they might come out with a different size. So if you see on top here, it says Jabberjaw 60. And that tells me that maybe, just maybe, they would come out with a different size. So check out this color pattern. We've got some red on top. We've got transparent orange on the side. This is an awesome craw pattern. We've got some blue on the back, some white on the belly. Absolutely love that. Wow. I said it in my unboxing video and I'll say it again now. I'm very impressed with these color patterns. Now, one thing to note that I see on the packaging of these baits that I've noticed on other 13 fishing baits. So I've got one here, for example, is that it looks like 13 is collaborating with other bait companies. So it's packaged, it says 13 Fishing here, but on top of the packaging, it says Empire Bait Company. Can you see that? I've never heard of Empire Bait Company, but But that's something to note for sure. 13 Fishing makes this bait, which is called the, gosh, I ripped off the bottom in order to open this because of the packaging. They call this the, dang it, I forget. It's the something Shad. And it's evading me right now. Somebody look that up and tell me what it's called. But check this out. Coalition baits. So it looks like this is a collaboration between 13 Fishing and Coalition baits. So I don't know what that's about, but looks like 13 is not totally coming up with these concepts or producing the baits, and I'm not sure which one it is. But maybe they're designing the baits, because you can see here on the back of the Jabberjaw package, it says 13 Fishing Design Center, Tampa, Florida. But then, you know, they've got both 13 Fishing and Empire Company on here. So maybe 13 is designing the baits and then outsourcing the production to these smaller individual bait companies, which actually I can respect if what they're doing is using American companies to make their baits, as opposed to using these factories in China, like a lot of other companies, to produce their baits. Now, I just threw down the packaging for this color. This is called the Rusty Bream. And this is like a transparent bluegill that is green and blue. So very different than the Dream Gill color that I've got. It has a white base to it, and then a more realistic color pattern. This is really green and blue, and it's see-through. So very interesting here. It's got a little bit more gold on the throat and blue on the belly. Rusty Bream, that one's called. Interesting. If you notice, all of these have the same nickel plated bill. Same color bill on all of these. They're not coloring the bills differently based on the paint schemes of the bait. So, not that that matters, just because I think you're going to get flash from the metal bill no matter. But that's one thing that makes it different than the Axis, which I'll show you in just a second here. Last color that I got, this is called Day Old Guac. So actually, really interesting name for that. And this has a more of a matte finish, and it's a little bit transparent, but this is a very natural craw color, and I like that a lot. So it's got more of a green top and a red bottom, and it's more of a matte finish. So more brownish hues to both the green and the red, and I like that. And if you listen to it, just a little bit more subtle. That's the one thing that I noticed when I first opened these baits, is that the Gizzard Shad one had a really loose bill and a loud click to it, whereas the Dream Gill had kind of a more muted sound, like the bill is not jammed, but not swinging quite as freely. Like there's just a little bit of resistance or something. So I'm not quite sure what it is that causes that, but it sounds like the Day Old Guac has that more than, say, the Rusty Bream. No, it does too. I didn't do that. The Fire and Ice Craw swings a little bit more easily, and the Goldilocks swings very freely as well. So I've now got 6 colors of this rad new bait, guys, and I will go ahead and call it rad and new. Both it and the Axis were in the works for a couple of years. and both were just released this year. So let me catch up here. Ron says, I was just curious, seem to have a couple of tackle boxes of them. Yeah, dude, I've got a couple of boxes of stuff that I've bought and just don't fish with. So you're not alone with that, dude. As you would suspect, with all of the tackle that I do have, and that continues to pile up around me, there's lots of stuff that goes unfished or that I try and don't see success on, so I just kind of leave it. Hence, that's part of why I do monthly giveaways, is to help share with you guys some of the stuff that I've tried and don't use, some of the stuff that I'm picking up and I'm excited about and want you guys to have the opportunity to try as well. Kind of a mixture of things, in addition to obviously wanting to continue to grow my pages on Instagram and YouTube, but it's mostly just to give back. So the Funk in Connecticut, holy crap, nice bait. Yeah, dude. The 13 fishing jabberjaw is a sick bait. So he says, you have way too many lures, it's time for a giveaway. Laughing my ace off. Yeah. What's the weird lure color? The day old guac, dude. It's actually perhaps one of my favorites. I think the rusty bream is a weird one, but okay, here's the axis. This color is the black magic color. As you can tell just by looking at it, this is a longer profile bait. The angle of the bill is just a little bit not quite as steep. So this guy's going to dive just a little bit deeper, probably more in the 3 to 5 foot range. And the main difference between them is that it's got a rattle internally. So when this bill is swinging, you actually hear more of the rattle than you do the bill. And the design is different on this bait so that it's not hitting the cheeks quite as much. And the cheeks are not made to be metal. This bait is not designed to clack and chatter the way that the jabberjaw is. So the jabberjaw is advertised to make that sound, whereas the axis is not. And believe it or not, the action of these baits is quite different. So the one that I have fished the most so far is this color, the Tiger Truce, and this paint is starting to wear off already just from me banging this around a little bit. And the bill, which is metal like all of these, is getting scratched up. So that is inevitable if you're going to be cranking rocks as opposed to ripping this out of grass, fishing this through shallow submergent grass. That's going to be inevitable. You know, the bill is going to get a little bit worn out, just like it would on a standard square bill crankbait, and the paint is going to wear off more quickly. So that's just part of the deal. But I wonder how that might affect the action as the bill gets more beat up. So anyway, the Tiger Truce is another color that I've got. Again, you can hear that rattle more. And then lastly is this, I think it's called Shad Sense. And this is more of a transparent, flashy shad pattern. Absolutely love this guy. And 6th Sense is known for making absolutely beautiful baits. We got a blue top here, transparent side with the flashy scales, and then this kind of whitish and orange belly on it. Now the one thing that's a little bit lackluster is the snap on the axis, but what I want you to notice here, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, is that the bill is totally different on all 3 of these baits. So take a look. Youch. On the shad pattern, you get a silver bill. on the Black Magic, you get this nickel colored bill like all of the Jabberjaws. And then on the Tiger Truce, you get a gold bill. So, I don't know. I like that feature a bit better on the Axis just because the flash that you're going to get is going to affect the color pattern and it might change your mind in terms of what color you choose to throw in those given conditions. But I will say that this bait is going to be a pre-spawn and perhaps summertime, depending on the grass, depending on the conditions you're dealing with, but mostly pre-spawn and a fall fishing bait because of how aggressive the action is. The Axis is a wilder and just crazy action than you would ever imagine. What you need to do is go check out some underwater footage of this bait. There are only a couple of videos online that have footage of it, but the bait literally rolls and has like an S pattern that goes probably 6 inches side to side. It has a very erratic action, I will say. Whether you want to call it a hunting action or not, I don't know or care, but it's definitely different than anything else on the market. A typical square bill crankbait is going to have a wobble to it, especially in the tail section. But the Axis has a very rolly and wide wobble to it. Whereas the Jabberjaw also has a wider than average action, but doesn't roll quite as much. And so it's going to be probably some 50 to 100% wider than a standard square bill crankbait. So it does have a wide wobble to it, but it's more traditional crankbait style. Whereas the Axis is almost more like a swim bait than a crankbait. And the sound of these baits is very different because you get a rattle versus a chattering sound between them. So far, I am more impressed and more interested in and more confident in throwing the Jabberjaw. One, because of the profile, and two, because of the fact that it's a silent bait, so it's not going to rattle when it's sitting on top of the surface. It doesn't float up quite as fast as the Axis, and more importantly, that clicking sound is just different than what you get out of other rattling crankbaits on the market. So I like to throw a rattling square bill crankbait quite a lot. And I will throw, the rattling KBD 1.5, which is exclusive to Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. I will throw the, let's see here if I can find a couple of others for you. I will throw the Storm Arashi square bill in the rattling version, which is very loud, has just a couple of BBs that are free floating. And then I will also throw the new Moonsault that I showed you guys from Lucky Craft. That sounds more like a rattle trap. So I would say the KBD 1.5 and 2.5 in the rattling versions are what I throw a lot, probably more frequently than the others that I just showed you. Oh, I guess I also do throw the, is this Norman? I think so. That's the Bandit Racket too. I will throw. So there's a handful of rattling square bills that I will throw, but the Axis has more of a traditional rattle to it, and so I think it just, from a sound standpoint, is more familiar to the fish, and from an action standpoint is very unfamiliar, very I don't know, unrealistic, I will say. And so I just don't know when to throw the bait quite as much. Whereas the Jabberjaw is a little bit more appetizing, smaller profile, and it's got that sound. You guys know that I have a ton of confidence in chatterbaits. And there's a reason that I throw chatterbaits so frequently. You know, I probably have 50 of them sitting in these two boxes right here. And between the jackhammer and the thunder cricket, they probably make up the majority of what I throw in terms of chatterbaits, at least like 80 to 90% of the time. But I've got a chatterbait setup that has a chatterbait tied on like 80 to 90% of the time. I will also throw lipless crankbaits on that setup, and am thinking I might throw some of these, either the Axis or the Jabberjaw, on them. But so far, I think I'm just going to throw them on my crankbait setup that I throw my shallow diving crankbaits, my lighter crankbaits on, because these guys don't weigh a ton. So at just about a ½ ounce, I think it's pretty manageable to throw these on my standard cranking setup. So anyway, I've got these new boxes that I'm trying to dedicate towards certain baits, and I am going to have this box filled up of just Axis and Jabberjaws after tonight. So I'm not going to do that here while we're hanging out. I will answer some of your guys' questions, and we can move on from talking about these two specific baits if you'd like to, or if you have any questions about them, feel free to throw those at me right now. So Ron says, what was the color of that craw in the Jabberjaw? This is called the Fire and Ice craw. Absolutely gorgeous, right? It's got a red top, orange sides, and some blue and white on the belly. Fire and Ice craw. And this one was called Day Old Guac. This more matte color. It's brownish, but really green on top, red on bottom. So Day Old Guac and Fire and Ice craw are the two that I got to really imitate craws depending on the time of year. Couple bluegill patterns here. This is Rusty Bream and this is Dream Gill. And then I've got Gizzard, Green Gizzard Shad, and Goldilocks. So, surprise, I've actually got another Goldilocks coming in the mail, and we'll be throwing in a giveaway sometime soon. If it arrives here in the next couple of days, I will throw it in this month's giveaway, but I might end up doing this month's giveaway with things that are already opened and just pull things out of my boxes and create kind of a tackle box for the fall for you guys. Haven't totally decided. If you guys have any suggestions of what you'd like to see in a giveaway, feel free to throw that at me. Ron says Jabberjaw. Oh, you were just wondering about that color. The Fire and Ice? Yeah, dude. So guys, ask away. Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Any baits that you have tried recently? Anything that you want to know about, learn about? Because as you know, I'm a student of the sport. I do watch some bass fishing tournaments, but I'm more so just interested in following trends in the industry and paying attention to what baits are coming out, and prepping for what is relevant that time of year, etc. So let's talk baits for a little bit, or talk fishing, or talk about anything else that you guys might want to while we're still at it. Looks like there's only a few people still in here, but we do have 8 thumbs up. Appreciate you guys. If for whatever reason you're in here hanging out but haven't hit the thumbs up button already, do me a favor and do that real quick. Hit that thumbs up. We've been hanging out for I don't know how long now. Doesn't tell me exactly. Ron says, I'd like to see a bass catching for dummies book in the next giveaway. Well, dude, I actually don't have one of those. But the idea over time is to have this YouTube channel become that. And so I'm going to start from very elementary stuff like how to spool up rods and reels, what setups you need for what baits, and what knots to tie, how to use a bait caster, very elementary stuff like that. And I'd love to know any suggestions that you've got, anything that you're dealing with in terms of issues or lures that you're curious about, when and where to use them, what setups to throw them on. There is nothing too dumb to ask, especially in this format here where we're live streaming and there's just a handful of people in here and we're already 45 minutes into a stream, and the likelihood of people rewatching this entire stream and knowing about it is slim to none. So there's no question that's too dumb in my book, and I'm happy to talk about anything and everything because, quite frankly, I just got into bass fishing some 3 or 4 years ago myself, and so I am not totally an expert myself. I don't have a boat, and so I still have a long ways to go in terms of bass fishing. I am more just a passionate fisherman and a curious student of the sport, as I said. So I would like to think that we're all learning all the time, and you can never be a true know-it-all. And I think it's unfortunate when anybody gets to that point of thinking that they've got it all figured out. So anyway, feel free to ask questions. I can't quite give you a Bass Catching for Dummies book in the next giveaway, but gets my the wheels turning in my head about things that maybe I should suggest more frequently in talking about elementary stuff. So Ron, what kind of baits do you throw for bass? If you want, I kind of want to go back through the unboxing from the other day, show you guys what I picked up, because I've still got some of these boxes like open and needing to be reorganized. We're missing a lot of the regular people in here right now, so I probably won't hang out too much longer this evening, but I will say this Berkley Bullet Pop, Berkley in general with their hard baits in the last couple of years have really impressed me. And they make this bait in 3 different sizes. This is the largest size, so you can get this in a standard like 1/4 inch or 1/4 ounce, you know, 2 1/4 inch size popper. But like I told you guys recently, I like to throw larger size poppers, and so I tend to lean toward that 3/8 to 1/2 ounce size. And I'm always a fan of finding baits that are rather affordable. So most people would lean toward, you know, the Rebel Pop R, which is a cheap and very effective bait. You can find these for like $5 at a lot of places. This is one of the OGs when it comes to topwater poppers, but it falls into that category like the head-in Super Spook or Super Spook Junior, where you really have to change out the hardware immediately when you get the bait. So after you do the math, you know, it's a reasonably affordable bait. Not super cheap, but something like the Bullet Pop, especially when you buy it on Discount Tackle, is perhaps one of the most affordable poppers on the market. And it's rather sophisticated, and it's got a different sound profile. So really impressed with it, and the Berkley Fusion 19 hooks that come on it absolutely do not need to be changed out. So Another bait that I've picked up a number of recently and might throw into the giveaway potentially is the Strike King KBD 2.5 wake bait. Love that freaking bait. Noah C, what are you talking about, dude? I'm sorry I didn't notice when you commented on that. What bait are you asking about? The popper, that's Berkley. So it's called the Berkley Bullet Pop. Like I said, they make it in 3 different sizes. And this is the Bullet Pop 80, which is their biggest size. So 80 is, 3 1/4 inches. This is a long, large popper, and it weighs in at something like a 1/2 ounce. Let me just wait for you guys on the scale here real quick. Yeah, so it's almost 15 grams out of the package. So this thing will cast a mile for you. And like I mentioned in my unboxing video, I really like this natural color scheme because it's transparent, a little bit of blue, very natural looking, white from the underside, but it's chartreuse on top. And it has a shape to it where it's pretty aerodynamic, has this kind of pinched top where it's going to cut through the water. It's going to travel a bit better. It's got one rattle in the tail, which is a little bit for casting distance, but also to make that rattling sound. And then it's got a ballast weight in the middle of it as well. It's got a pretty deep cup on the mouth. I'm telling you, one of the best value poppers on the market when we're talking about bang for your buck. Do not need to change out the hardware. So check that one out. Ron says, my trouble is I used to trout fish, so I tend to start fishing for trout because I'm more confident with that. Yeah, well, I totally hear you on that. I did and I do too, Ron. You just have to decide before you go out what it is that you're targeting and not necessarily bring both. Although you could just fish the Ned rig and expect to catch both. You're just perhaps going to catch them in different areas depending on the time of year. So here's the other bait that I wanted to show you guys. And this is the Strike King KBD 2.5 wake bait. So as you can see, it's got a very steep bill on it. This thing dives no more than 6 inches, even on a very high speed retrieve, and it does not blow out. So really awesome wake bait. Traditionally in the past, wake baits needed to be retrieved pretty slowly to not blow out and kind of roll over, or when I say blow out, I mean kind of lose their track. And so this thing can be burned very quickly, has a loud knock, one knocker sound in that you can hear from a mile away. And again, this is a pretty cost-effective bait, especially if you buy it from Discount Tackle. And right now, during their season end sale, really good bait. And I think you can get it for like $6, maybe $7. So definitely check that out. Yeah, wake baits in heavy grass situations, I hear you, man. It's a great time to throw it. So I guess while we're talking about grass, jackhammer chatterbait, guys, tough to beat year round and this time of year. So I carry these two color patterns with me kind of at all times. Green pumpkin and white. Jackhammer is real tough to beat. And you know, I've got a box of jackhammers. I've got a half a dozen or more rigged at all times. I've got a few that are still in their packages, and yeah, I have no shortage of jackhammers. Maybe I should throw one of those in my giveaway. Here's another bait that is worthy of talking about. Not quite in full swing right now, but this is a year-round bait. That's the Rapala DT series of baits. And this is specifically the DT4. I had these out of my box the other day because I did go out fishing to try and catch, like I said, some panfish and bass at a local pond, and it's full of bluegill and crappie. So it's a shallow pond, and a DT4 is a very shallow diver and a loud rattler. Not a deep rattle, but compared to the rest of the DT series, like here I've got a box of DT4s and 6s that I took them out of. The DT6, on the other hand, here's the same color patterns. These guys, very faint rattle in the DT6. So I actually really like that sound for the craw patterns quite a bit more than I do for the bait fish. So I've got the DT6 in, you know, like all of the craw patterns that Rapala makes. Here are 5 of them. And yeah, the DT series of crankbaits are balsa wood crankbaits, and they're more or less flat-sided. So they're awesome for shallow water and for cold water. I don't mean specifically shallow water because they do make them all the way up to a DT20, but these guys, the DT4 and the DT6, are some of my favorite cold water crankbaits for shallow cranking. And I pretty much only do shallow cranking since I tend to fish from the bank. So Noah says, does Discount Tackle have fast shipping? Yes, dude, they do. Honestly, their shipping tends to be about 3 days, sometimes 4 days, but pretty much as fast as it gets. It's free shipping if you spend $59. I don't know how much it is, probably $5 or so otherwise, but standard shipping, you know, they send it out same day if you buy relatively early in the day. Otherwise, they'll ship it out the next day after you purchase. And then it takes, you know, they ship from Oregon, so it depends on where you live. I live here in Colorado, so for me it takes 3 days every single time. You know, I purchase from them once a month, sometimes twice a month. I will give you guys a little bit of a preview right now. Okay, you live in Bama. My guess is it would take you 3-4 days. But when you compare that to Tackle Warehouse or a lot of the other places that have really experienced a slowdown during COVID, it's not the same deal with Discount Tackle. They are reliable to a T and have not had really any issues during COVID. So Funk says, Rapala, would love to have some of those. Okay. Might want to see some DTs in the giveaway. I know I've got an extra DT6 in the Demon color. That might be a good one to throw in. And I probably have a few more elsewhere. I've got a ton of the Shad wraps and some of the jointed Shad wraps. Could definitely throw some of those in. Yeah, man, Noah, I agree. Tackle Warehouse, it's been hit or miss during COVID. It used to take a little bit longer than that. At the beginning of COVID, they've gotten things a little bit better figured out this past month or two. But it used to be a whole lot more reliable, you know, just a few days. So I still purchase from Tackle Warehouse here and there. I also purchase from 6 Cents and from Carolina Fishing Tackle, depending on what it is that I'm considering buying. I do have a package from 6 Cents coming here in the next couple of days. So I'll show you guys that stuff when it comes. But otherwise, I like to shop at Discount Tackle as much as I can because you can get discounted baits year-round on like half of the stuff that I like to buy. So it really makes it justifiable. Like the Jabberjaw, for example, retails at $10.99, but I paid, I don't know, $9.59 for those guys. So, you know, it's kind of like, why not? You know, when you're saving anywhere from 10 to 30% on all of these baits, you know, the Lucky Craft baits, 10% off of that, and on the LV500. So the LV500 is top of the line lipless crankbait. You're going to spend $15.99 on it. Why not spend $14.39 on it at all times, right? I mean, otherwise, what you're going to have to do is wait until Black Friday, or, you know, the couple of times a year the Tackle Warehouse is running a big store-wide sale, and try and take advantage. So what you have to do is create those like shopping lists, if you will, and just wait for the right time. But otherwise, Discount Tackle is my favorite place to shop year-round for sure, man. Ron says, my last order from Discount Tackle came in 2 days. Sick, dude. Glad to hear it. George says, how do I enter the giveaway? I have not posted this month's giveaway yet. You'll see it come up in the next few days. I usually run the giveaway for anywhere from a few days to a week at the end of the month. So seeing that we've got another week left in October, I'm going to post that here in the next couple of days. You will see a video about it specifically. All you got to do is like that video, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, and leave a comment down below on that video, and you'll be entered. Or you can follow me on Instagram as well, and you can enter over there too. So I do a separate giveaway every single month with different baits, and it only runs for a few days at a time. Now, spoiler alert for all of those watching right now. Discount Tackle and I, if you guys don't already know, I'm a brand ambassador for them. Work with them to help drive traffic to their website, increase awareness, drive sales, etc. And we are going to start doing big item giveaways once every few months. And they did send me a package the other day with a super rad brand new reel. Not just brand new like in the box, but brand new to the market. One that I don't have in my arsenal, one that I wish I could have, take for myself, but one of you guys is going to win it. So that giveaway will probably run for like the whole month of November, if I had to guess. I haven't totally worked out the details of how that giveaway is going to work, how long it's going to run, etc. But Discount Tackle has given me a reel that has a retail value of over $200 and is brand new to the market, that I guarantee you guys are going to be pumped about, and one of you guys is going to be fortunate enough to win. So stay tuned for that coming in the next week or so, probably both on Instagram and YouTube as well. I know I missed a comment. Fishing with Grubs on YouTube has a nice discount code of 20% off all Gary Yamamoto stuff right now. Not sure what that means. Is Fishing with Grubs a website, or is Fishing with Grubs a person? How do you get that 20% off of Yamamoto? I mean, I like Yamamoto baits. Honestly, I throw probably a half a dozen of their baits, but in general, they are pretty overpriced, so I don't throw them all that frequently, except for like the Zako on the back of a chatterbait, which I just showed you guys a minute ago. But glad to hear that Ron and George are excited about the giveaway coming up on Discount Tackle, from Discount Tackle. The Funk also had a question. He said, what lures hold up well, long-lasting lures in your opinion? I hate seeing scraped up crankbaits. Dude, that is tough to say. Megabass and Lucky Craft, I would say, have pretty durable paint jobs, but you pay more for them, right? So Lucky Craft paint that are not the shiny ones hold up pretty dang well, in my opinion. So it depends on the baits that you're looking to throw, but that it depends on the category. So for crankbaits, I would say in the square bill category, the Lucky Craft LC 1.5 is more durable than the KBD 1.5. Um, but if you're fishing crankbaits, the objective is to bang it off of cover, to bang it off the bottom. They're going to get scraped up, so you can't really be against that. So that's a tough question to answer, man. Say Fishing with Grubs is a YouTube guy out of Rhode Island. Cool channel. Interesting. George, what is an overpriced bait? Another bait that I'm obsessed with and talk about all the time just is the jackhammer chatterbait. Also overpriced, but totally worth it in my opinion. I've got a million of them and can't ever have enough. So I've got to pee really bad. If you guys wouldn't mind holding on, talk to each other in the chat, get some questions going. I will be right back in 1 minute. All right, all right, all right. Sorry about that. Hope I didn't miss any of you guys. Hope you didn't bail on me while I was gone. You said you have a bunch of chatterbaits, but you've had no luck on them up in Connecticut? Wow, that's surprising, dude. Now, when I say durable, that's relative, right? Because, you know, here's two, for example, that I've got rigged up kind of at all times. I've got a few more that are kind of my go-tos that are just beat up. And so the paint is going to chip off of the blades, the heads. It's part of the deal. But same goes for crankbaits. If you're fishing around rock, if you're fishing around wood, and of course, if you're getting bit, the paint is going to wear off. They're going to get scraped up. So that it's just part of the game, dude. But you know, jerk baits are probably some of the most durable because you're rarely banging them off the bottom. So I would consider jerk baits more frequently, or like you said, wake baits or top waters. Of course, those guys aren't going to be banging off of cover quite as much, but I also like to throw a lot of soft plastics. So that's one way that you can not have to worry about your lures getting beat up or broken or snagged as frequently. And you only have to stock up on hooks so frequently. So throwing a Texas rig, throwing a shaky head, throwing a weightless soft plastic are always good options. Or even throwing jigs. So I like to throw swim baits and Ned rigs quite a lot. And I throw Texas rigs, Tokyo rigs quite a bit as well. So all of those are fairly durable, if you will. you know, you're going to go through soft plastics, but not all that often. As you can see, I've got a stockpile of soft plastics like you wouldn't believe, and I can't keep up. So there's a whole bunch more that, you know, just don't even make their way up onto the wall. I don't have a place to put them. I've showed you guys that really all of these boxes are filled with soft plastics. I've got a tub up here that is 2 tubs that are filled with soft plastics. These 2 guys are filled with Z-Man soft plastics. And yeah. So if you're concerned with durability, with losing lures and banging them up, dude, I'd start throwing more soft plastics if I were you. Ron says, peanut bladder strikes again. Yeah, man. You know, it's not like I've been chugging beers tonight, you know. I drank a fair amount of coffee today. I drank some water at dinner, and I cracked open this soda just an hour ago, and it already ran through me, so I don't know what's going on. Could be the meds I'm on, or could just be that I'm getting older. Couldn't tell you. But yeah, I know you had to say something. No worries. George says, I've never bought a KBD crankbait. Is it worth the price? Absolutely. I would say all KBD hard baits are worth the price. So the main ones that I throw, well, let's start from top to bottom, because top water, there are 2 main ones that I do throw. And so first is the Sexy Dog lineup of baits, and they've got 3 sizes of it. They've got the standard Sexy Dog. This is like a $9 or $10 bait. And keep in mind, all Strike King baits are 30% off right now during the end of season sale going on at Discount Tackle. So I hope you guys didn't lose me right now. Looks like maybe I cut out. I hope not. That's just a notification that I'm down to 20% battery life. So guys, I'm going to chill for about 15 or 20 more minutes. So let's run through Strike King KBD baits. This is the KBD Sexy Dog. Standard 3-hook topwater walking bait. It's got a knocker and a rattle in it. That's probably my favorite. They've got a Sexy Dog Junior. This is like the size of a Super Spook Junior. More subtle of a sound and action on it. And then they've got the absolutely gigantic Mega Dog. I didn't really have a chance to throw the Mega Dog this year after picking it up, but I'm pretty excited to have it. So the standard Sexy Dog is like 10 bucks. And like I was saying, all Strike King baits are 30% off for the end of season sale going on at Discount Tackle. So you might as well take advantage while you can. Where did I put the wake bait that I was telling you guys about? The 2.5 wake bait was new to the market just last year. Same deal. I want to say this guy retails for like $7 or $8. Super high quality wake bait. So surface / subsurface crankbait. Great for topwater strikes. And then once you go subsurface, you've got the KBD 1.5, 2.5, 4.0, and 8.0 square bill crankbaits. They make them in a deep diving version. They make a flat side version. They make a shallow version. There are a million variations of the KBD square bills, but it's one of the best square bills on the market, especially when it comes to consistency of action and value that you get out of this bait. So the 1.5 is my favorite size. It comes in some awesome color patterns. I would say my two favorite colors these days are the green gizzard shad and the oyster. Though I also really love the natural shad, which is the one that I just showed you in the 2.5 wake bait. So KBD 1.5 square bill is really tough to beat. And then lipless crankbaits. The red eye shad is like one of the most consistent lipless crankbaits on the market. One of the best you can get. This is more of a shallow diving. Well, I shouldn't say shallow diving, but this guy has a slow shimmy on the fall. So you can fish this in all different ways that you would normally fish a lipless crankbait. You know, either let it fall to bottom and then yo-yo it up off the bottom, or you can burn it higher in the column. And it's just a great lipless crankbait all around. So it's the less technique specific within lipless crankbaits and how you fish them. The half ounce is what I throw most frequently, but the quarter ounce, which is actually more like a 3/8, not a quarter, is what I throw more than you would think. And I throw the red eye shad in a ton of different colors. And like I said, I really like the oyster, the natural shad, chartreuse sexy shad. I mean, I've probably got, I don't know, 15 of them here in my box. And of course I'm making a mess of my box right now, but who cares? The red eye shad makes up probably a quarter to a third of the lipless crankbaits that I've got in this box, and there's probably 50 in this box alone. And yeah, then once we get into jerk baits, KBD makes some awesome jerk baits too. So I'm a big fan of the KBD 300 jerkbait. For a couple reasons. One is it's got 3 hooks. The 200 and the new 100 are only 2 hook jerkbaits. The 300 size is a 3 hook jerkbait. It's got a great sound to it. Nice and aggressive, but not too loud. It's got a very natural profile to it, rounder than a lot of other jerkbaits on the market. So it has a crisp action, but it dives a little bit deeper than most of the jerkbaits on the market, at least for its size. So it dives some 7-ish feet deep. And they do make a deep version of the KBD 300, and this guy will go 10 feet deep, which for a jerkbait is pretty damn deep. So the KBD 300 jerkbaits are awesome and a really good value when you consider the fact that it's tough to find a good jerkbait on the market for, you know, that $7 to $10 price tag. So the KBD 300 jerkbaits, the red eye shad lipless crankbait, the KBD 1.5 square bill, the KBD 2.5 wake bait, and the KBD sexy dog are some of my favorite baits. I didn't show you the Sexy Dog Hard Knock that they also make, but as you can expect, it's just a one knocker walking bait. Just picked up another color of it in last month's unboxing. So it's the Sexy Dog that I showed you, just in a one knocker. So keep that in mind. Both are great baits. The Hard Knock is a little bit more expensive retail wise, and I'm not sure if that's just because it's newer to the market or not. They're making most of the baits in a Hard Knock version now. They're coming out with the 1.5 square bill in a Hard Knock, which I told you that the 1.5 square bill, the rattling version, is exclusive to Cabela's and Bass Pro, but the Hard Knock is going to have a different sound than the rattling 1.5, and it's going to be mass market. It's going to be sold everywhere, not exclusive anywhere. So definitely worth looking into. George says, if you were to get one KBD hard plastic for this time of year, what would you pick? Probably the red eye shad, just because I could fish it pretty consistently from now all the way through winter. Whereas the KBD 1.5 square bill is going to excel now for about the next month until it starts to get cold. And then the rattle trap will really take over more so than the square bill. And so the square bill is great for the spring and the fall, but not so much the winter, and not quite as much in the summer. Whereas the rattle trap, that red eye shad, you can fish year round quite a bit more. But it would be a toss up between that and that 300 size jerkbait that I talked about. Noah says, what camera do you use for the lure shots? Dude, I use my iPhone. I want to say it's an 8, maybe a 7. I use my iPhone like for everything. So there are a couple of apps that I use, but I'm mostly just switching between standard mode and sometimes portrait. So yeah, you definitely don't need anything fancy. I do have a GoPro Hero 7 Black that I shoot some of my fishing videos with. Not that you guys have seen any of those as of late. I just have not edited and posted any of them. I don't have a rhythm when it comes to creating fishing videos for YouTube, but I don't use that for photography by any means. I just use my iPhone. So I do have a Nikon I forget what it's called. I have a DSLR camera that's a little bit outdated, a few, maybe 5 years old, but I rarely use it anymore. It's just a hassle to take those photos and upload them to the computer and edit them old-fashioned style when you've got all the software that you need right on your phone. So it just comes down to editing the photos after the fact, getting a decent focus in shot at the time, but I use my phone, man. Riley says, crazy fact that we're completely sold out of jerkbaits in store where I live, because they're hitting really good on jerkbaits. Yeah, well, it's that time of year, guys. Jerkbaits are really starting to warm up. Now, KBD would disagree with me and say that jerkbaits are definitely an all year-round bait, like the red eye shad, but yeah, now is the time, especially as the water is cooling down and the fish are becoming more active. You can trigger them very well with a jerkbait. So interesting. I wonder if I ought to throw some jerkbaits into the giveaway. Guys, give me some feedback on what you think I should throw into the giveaway that I'm going to post in the next couple of days, because this giveaway has evolved a little bit in my head over the last hour as we've been hanging out, and I'm really not sure what to throw in there. or what you would prefer to receive if you were the one winning the giveaway. So you tell me. I'd be happy to do a little, combo box where I'm putting together, a handful or a half a dozen baits for you guys, and could be a wide variety of fall fishing baits, and maybe that's just the way to go. So this is the time of year where most things are in season, from chatterbaits and swim baits to crankbaits of all kinds, jerk baits, and even some topwaters, especially topwater walking baits. So George says, I really like hard body swim baits or glide baits. Yeah, man, glide baits are a good thing to throw this time of year as well. That's just something that, I've got a, what do I have tied on right now? I've got 2 hard swim baits out of my box right now. Tied on, I've got a Spro BBZ1. It's this bait, but in the shad pattern. So it's the 6-inch BBZ1, which is a double segmented bait, so it's not quite a glide bait. And then I've also got the Savage Gear Shine Glide 185 out in a shad pattern. Bait that I need to start throwing more this year. Didn't throw as much as I thought I would this year is the Storm Arashi Glide. I picked up 2 of them in the off season last year and just threw them a little bit in the spring this year, but did not manage to get out and utilize them like I thought I would this year. Like I told you guys, because I had a seizure and have not been able to drive the last couple of months, I haven't been fishing for bass. Haven't been able to get out like I ordinarily would. So a lot of these baits have gotten neglected, unfortunately. But, the S waiver is always a good one, of course. But George says, I've always been so intrigued. Why would you pick a trout pattern over a natural? What's the point? So for a couple reasons, especially where I live here in Colorado, they stock trout in the bodies of water where I fish for bass. So trout are actually a main forage species for trophy bass. So if you're throwing a lure, there we go. I'm at 10% battery life. Just froze on you guys again. Sorry about that. We'll let that be my 5 to 10 minute countdown. But here's the answer to that, George. Where you've got trophy bass that feed on or target stocked trout, it could be an awesome profile to throw at them. But the other thing is just that sometimes a trout pattern doesn't always have to look like a trout. The profile of a trout can also look like a baby carp or a gizzard shad. Traditionally, there are not a lot of gizzard shad or bluegill glide baits. So trout color patterns can imitate a number of different things and not just trout. But I don't think colors matter all that much. So I wish I could answer your question a little bit better than that right now, George, but trout patterns will do well. And fish see fish, and if it looks like it's injured or lazy, It's more about the action than the color. So I would say action first, profile second, color third. Ron says Idaho, they are wild. Yeah, no, there's definitely wild trout here in Colorado too, but a lot of the fisheries here uh, are intentionally stocked with trout for sport fishing. You know, even in the high mountain lakes, you know, the Colorado fisheries management. I forget what I should even call them right now. And I feel like that's such a brain fart. But um, the the government money from our fishing licenses, um, a lot of that goes to stocking fish here, and our waters are stocked with trout more than they are with bass by a long shot. In fact, bass fishing is um, discouraged and even not allowed in some places. So more people here in Colorado fish for trout, whether they're catch and release or catch and keep, than they do for bass. So I just take advantage of that in waters where there are big bass because I know that they will feed on the freshly stocked trout in those bodies of water. So George says, I guess my state, North Carolina, there's no trout because the water is too warm. Yeah, that definitely factors in. Um, do you guys even ice over in North Carolina or no? See, we've got a lot of deep water reservoirs. So even where they're not river fed, stream fed bodies of water, um, they're deep and they freeze over in the winter here because we get snow and we get very cold winter temps. So the water gets cold enough to where trout actually do quite well year round. Of course, they just go super deep, and it, depending on the body of water, will die during the summer. So in some places, it's encouraged to catch and keep some trout, especially where they stock them uh, frequently. Riley says, also sorry I haven't been very vocal on your videos or active. I feel like over the past couple of months, things have happened to all of us. But the good thing is we can come back to the streams and not worry and chill. You're absolutely right, Riley. Don't be sorry whatsoever. No big deal. Like you said, we've all been going through stuff. Totally understand. And not a big deal. You don't need to worry about it whatsoever. So thank you for your support one way or another. Thanks for just paying attention, for having your notifications turned on, and always being like the first person to hop on the streams. That means a lot to me. Thanks for hanging out and chilling as long as you have. I'm running really low on battery right now and need to hop out of here, guys. If you have not hit the thumbs up button, do me a favor. We've got 5 people in here, 11 thumbs up. Really appreciate that. And for all you guys hanging out, George says it was literally 80 degrees today. Dang, dude. We had like 65 degrees today, but the temperatures are dipping by the moment right now. We're going to see snow tomorrow morning. So it is like the middle of fall here right now. It's going to be freezing cold the next 2 days here. And my guess is that fish are going to start munching hard in the next couple of weeks. And depending on how cold it gets, we could see ice starting by the end of November, early December, or it might be later into December. But here, we're going to ice over by about Christmas no matter what. So hopefully I can get in some good bass fishing and catch a PB, nice 5 or 6 pounder before the holidays. But we'll have to see about that. I've got 2 weeks until I can drive anywhere, anytime I want. Until then, I've got to be catching rides, and with COVID, I'm not super comfortable. My dad caught COVID earlier this year and therefore has antibodies, so I do feel comfortable going bass fishing with him, but we'll have to see. So George says, in the winter, we get snow maybe once. Jeez, dude. Idaho got 8 inches of snow today. What? That's insane, guys. All right, Riley, 40 degrees there. Yeah, it's crazy how the temperatures are really fluctuating this time of year, guys. But George says the snow never sticks, even if it falls once a year. in North Carolina. Yeah. Well, it is what it is. You get, bass fishing year round, which I do envy, but at the same time, I get to head up to the mountains and go skiing, which is a huge passion of mine, in addition to bass fishing in the spring, summer, and fall. So, hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend, your Sunday tomorrow. Go Broncos. I don't know if you guys watch football or not. Broncos suck this year, but did win last week against the Patriots, which was always fun to see. And yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I might be back on tomorrow night because my wife is working tomorrow night. So we'll see. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Tight lines. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.